The brave little ant. Once upon a time, in a large meadow surrounded by tall trees, there was a bustling colony of ants. This colony was home to hundreds of hard-working ants, all living together in harmony. Among them was a tiny ant named Andy. Andy was smaller than most of the other ants, and while some ants thought his size was a weakness, Andy had a big heart full of courage and curiosity. Every morning, the colony would come alive with activity. The ants formed long lines as they marched out in search of food. They worked together, carrying crumbs, seeds, and small bits of fruit back to their anthill. Andy loved being part of this busy life, even though he could only carry the smallest pieces of food. He always tried his best and dreamed of doing something extraordinary to help his colony. One bright and sunny day, the ants were out gathering food when Andy noticed something unusual in the distance. There, at the edge of a large puddle, was a piece of sugar that sparkled like a diamond in the sunlight. Andy's eyes widened. That sugar would be perfect for the colony, he thought. Andy rushed back to tell the other ants. There is a shiny piece of sugar near the puddle. That sugar would be perfect for the colony, he thought. Andy rushed back to tell the other ants. There is a shiny piece of sugar near the puddle, he exclaimed. The older ants looked toward the puddle and shook their heads. Andy, that sugar is too far away, said one. And it is at the edge of the puddle. It is too risky to get it, said another. But we need it, Andy replied. I can try. The other ants exchanged glances. You are too small, Andy, said a large ant named Max. Even if you reach the sugar, how will you carry it back across the puddle? Andy stood tall, even though he was much smaller than Max. I may be small, he said, but I am brave. I want to help the colony, and I am willing to try. Sometimes, we have to take risks to do great things. The other ants murmured among themselves. Some admired Andy's determination, but others doubted he could succeed. Andy did not let their doubts stop him. He marched toward the puddle with determination in his tiny steps. When Andy reached the edge of the puddle, he saw that the shiny sugar was bigger than he expected. The puddle was wide and seemed deep, with the sunlight reflecting off its surface. Andy looked around and noticed a small leaf floating nearby. This leaf can be my boat, he thought. Andy carefully climbed onto the leaf. He picked up a tiny stick lying nearby and used it as a paddle. The leaf wobbled as he pushed it into the water. The puddle was not calm. Small ripples made the leaf rock back and forth. Andy gripped the leaf tightly with his legs and focused on paddling. The journey across the puddle felt long and challenging. A gentle breeze started to blow, making the water choppier. Andy's heart raced, but he kept going. I can do this, he told himself. Finally, after much effort, Andy reached the other side of the puddle. The shiny sugar was waiting for him, glistening in the sunlight. Up close, it looked even bigger than before. Andy took a deep breath. "I did not come this far to give up now," he said. Andy began pushing and rolling the sugar onto the leaf. It was heavy, and he had to use all his strength to move it. "Come on, Andy, you can do it," he whispered to himself. After a lot of hard work, he managed to get the sugar onto the leaf. As Andy prepared to paddle back, the wind picked up, and the water became rougher. The leaf swayed dangerously, and Andy felt a moment of fear. "What if I fall in?" he thought. But then he remembered his dream of helping the colony. "I can do this," he said again, louder this time. Andy paddled with all his might. The leaf rocked back and forth, and the sugar threatened to slide off. But Andy stayed focused, balancing the sugar and paddling steadily. When he finally reached the other side of the puddle, the ants were waiting for him. They had been watching his journey and were amazed by his bravery. As Andy rolled the sugar onto the ground, the ants erupted in cheers. "You did it," Andy shouted Max, who looked both surprised and impressed. The queen ant heard about Andy's adventure and came out to see him. She smiled warmly and said, "Andy, you are small, but your courage is enormous. You took a brave risk, and because of your determination, our colony now has a valuable piece of food. You have shown us all that size does not matter when you have a brave heart." The other ants crowded around Andy, patting him on the back and congratulating him. From that day on, Andy became a hero in the colony. He proved that even the smallest ants could achieve great things if they believed in themselves and were willing to take risks. Andy's story spread throughout the meadow, inspiring not just his colony but other creatures as well. The bees buzzed about his bravery, the butterflies fluttered with excitement, and even the wise old grasshopper nodded in approval. Andy continued to explore and help his colony. He taught the other ants that sometimes, the greatest rewards come from taking the biggest risks. The colony grew stronger and braver, thanks to the little ant who dared to dream big. The moral of the story is: believe in yourself and don't be afraid to take risks. You might discover that you are stronger and braver than you ever imagined. And so, Andy the ant lived happily, not just as a hero, but as a symbol of courage and determination for all the creatures in the meadow.